Hey sports fans, when we talk about baseball in Chicago, the stadium that everyone wants to see is, of course, Wrigley Field. But that doesn't mean you should skip over the ballpark on the south side. The home of the White Sox is much more than the quote-unquote other ballpark in Chicago. And hopefully this video guide can illustrate why Wrigley Field is deserving of a spot on your ballpark visit list. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ed and I chronicle all my sports travels on my website, Itinerant Fan. It has guides to all of the stadiums in the major American sports leagues, plus some college stadiums and even major venues around the world. Check it out sometime if you're into traveling for sports. The city of Chicago, Illinois is fiercely divided into two sides of baseball fandom. In this video, we're looking at the south side and the home of the Chicago White Sox, Wrigley Field. This ballpark has gone through a few changes over the years, including to its name. Most longtime fans will just call it by its original name, Comiskey Park. More on that in a bit. This was the third game of a 5-game, 4-city MLB road trip that I took over a week-long span, so subscribe to the Itinerant Fan channel to see the previous visits on this trip, and hit that bell button to be notified when new videos go live. Okay, so if you're a visitor to Chicago, staying in the Loop or elsewhere in the central area, you'll have to figure out a way to get to Wrigley Field. Taxis, ride shares, and buses are all options, but I always save myself the hassle and just hop on the L, otherwise known as the CTA train system. The Red Line, the same line that gets baseball fans to Wrigley Field, is also the easy path to Wrigley Field. Just head south instead of north, of course. And from the Loop, it's just a few stops to the very helpfully named Sox 35th station. 35th being the street that the ballpark is located on. Even though Wrigley Field is just a few miles south of the central Chicago core, the White Sox are eyeing a move even closer. The team's current lease with the ballpark expires in 2029, and a spot for a new stadium close to the Loop is actively being searched for. While nothing appears set in stone yet, it seems like that Sox 35th station name is destined to become a little bit less accurate sometime in the not too distant future. Wrigley Field might not be surrounded by that vibrant, fan-attracting neighborhood that their north side rivals have in Wrigleyville, but there's still plenty of reason to get there early and do a little exploring. While the ballpark itself is located on the south side of 35th Street, the other side of it is a big part of the ballpark experience too. There you'll find a freestanding building that contains an entrance gate. That's what that pedestrian bridge that spans over the street is for, as well as a team store and a restaurant. If you're into baseball history, you'll want to catch a small slice of it here as well. Just off to the side of that building is a marker in the ground that denotes where home plate was stationed in the old Comiskey Park, the stadium the White Sox called home from 1910 until 1990. The White Sox franchise has a long, rich history, and I find it's commemorated very well here. That starts just outside the ballpark, with numerous markers documenting various players and eras of baseball on the south side. That very much continues once you enter Wrigley Field, so get inside early, or at least spend some time exploring during the game to see all there is to see. On the upper concourse, you'll find many murals that cover all the different eras of White Sox history. To the team's credit, the infamous 1919 Black Sox team that conspired with gamblers to throw the World Series is not ignored here. While those players are not necessarily celebrated, they're not glossed over either. And I think that's important to recognize that that was a part of the team's history. By the way, the name Comiskey refers to the White Sox franchise's most central figure in the early years, owner Charles Comiskey. This ballpark was also called Comiskey Park for the first decade plus of its existence, before corporate naming sponsors took over in the early 2000s. The old Roman himself is commemorated with a statue on the outfield concourse. Don't miss some of the many other statues here, 10 in all, lining the outfield concourse. The ones of legendary infield duo Luis Aparicio and Nellie Fox turning a double play is my personal favorite. The main video board in center field is an homage to White Sox history as well. The 7 digital turrets, for lack of a better term, are a recreation of what was known as the exploding scoreboard at the old Comiskey, installed by the famously eccentric owner Bill Veeck, that would shoot off fireworks after home runs or victories. Here's the modern version of it in action after a White Sox home run. This was my first White Sox home game since 2019, so I was excited to rediscover what it was like watching a game at Wrigley Field. If you've got a seat in the upper deck like I did, you might find it worth your while to take the long way and use the ramp on the first base side. That's because at nearly every bend, there's a cool photo op with a logo or a statue. And the higher you get, the more you'll be treated to a splendid view of the central Chicago skyline, with the famous Willis Tower. Okay, that's what they call it now, but Chicagoans tend to stick with the old name of Sears Tower in the foreground. I love skyline views as many baseball fans do, and then when you get into the seating bowl here, you can't help but think it was a missed opportunity that this stadium wasn't oriented so that was the view beyond the outfield. This game between the White Sox and Minnesota Twins took place on Memorial Day, and while it was well attended, there weren't many fans hanging out in the uppermost rows of the upper deck. I had a ticket for a seat in my usual preferred spot directly behind home plate, but that was pretty crowded, so I thought, why not spread out a little bit? I may have given up my perfectly centered view, but I gained a lot in shade. Interestingly, when this ballpark was first built, the upper deck went up an additional 9 rows, and there wasn't much of a shade canopy. After complaints about the steepness, those rows were removed and the canopy was installed. Though I enjoyed my shade for a few innings, I knew I wanted to spend plenty of time in my favorite part of Wrigley Field. The outfield concourse here is a treat for any fan, and I would go so far as to say underrated because I don't often hear it being mentioned as one of the top features of this ballpark. In addition to the statues mentioned earlier, you'll find a party atmosphere here that's pretty comparable to the outfield bleachers and communal spaces at Wrigley Field. You'll also find a pretty cool artifact, a shower stall from the old Comiskey Park. And yes, it still works, so you can douse yourself if you like. Just above the concourse in left field, there's this communal space, the Topo Chico Cantina. Walking through here felt like a fun indoor bar area, and this balcony offered a view of the field that wasn't bad at all, and best of all, it was shaded. The outfield is also a pretty good starting point if you want to survey your food options. While you'll certainly find some of Chicago's top food standards at Wrigley Field, the menu can get pretty adventurous if you take some time to look around. This giant quesadilla called the Machete certainly caught my attention, but in the end I went with an old standard, the Polish sausage. It might not be the most visually appealing ballpark food out there, but it definitely hit the spot. Properly fed, I grabbed a spot on the concourse to partake in the 7th inning stretch. And then after that, it was back to the outfield concourse, where I watched the White Sox hold on for a Memorial Day victory over the Twins. And oh look, there's that digital exploding scoreboard in action once again. All in all, it was a great afternoon at Wrigley Field. Yes, it gets overshadowed in its own city, and yes, the White Sox are actively looking into replacing it. But as Major League Ballpark experiences go, I think this place gets slept on a little bit. It's a lot of fun seeing a ball game here, and if you have a chance, you gotta take a trip to the South Side to catch some ball when you're visiting Chicago. I hope this video lends some insight into what it's like watching a White Sox game at Wrigley Field. If you've also seen an event here, or you're planning to sometime in the near future, then please let me know. Leave a like or a comment below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we'll be making a lot more stadium and travel videos like this one. And if you're looking for more info on other major cities or sports venues, head to itinerantfan.com. Thanks for watching, and happy travels!